I'm going to talk about boarding schools, first of all. I'll put my hand up and said I went to one from 8 till about 13, and then another one from 13 to 18, so I know all about them. I don't know as much, though, about this particular subject connected with boarding schools. The Centre for Social Justice has urged the government to put its faith in boarding schools to save troubled children from educational failure. We'll talk about the details of the plan in just a moment with one of the architects, but I'd like to know from you, have you ever considered sending your kids to boarding school? Maybe you went. How did you turn out? I'm not going to comment on how I turned out, but I will talk a little bit about this idea of boarding school for children who got problems at school. And according to the Centre for Social Justice, it could transform the lives of thousands of children from troubled backgrounds and potentially saving the taxpayer millions of pounds a year. They think that the government should embrace this rather ambitious plan, turning top state schools and academies into boarding schools, which will give children from poor backgrounds, people from disadvantaged homes, you know, all the sort of troubled people we know about, the chance to really concentrate on their school rather than whenever they're going home forgetting everything that happens at school and actually thinking about all the problems that happen at home, which is so disruptive that they can't ever concentrate. Did you go to boarding school? And if you did, how did you find it? 0345 6060 973. Do they always concentrate the mind of the most unruly pupil, or are there some children who just cannot be catered for within the education system? 0345 6060 973. If you went to boarding school, if you considered it, or maybe you've got some sort of intrinsic problem with boarding school, you think it's wrong for a child to be separated from its parents for so long. 84850 is the text number, and you can tweet at LBC. Before I do anything else, let us speak to Alex Burkhardt, who's the Policy Director at the Centre of Social Justice, who proposed this idea. Good afternoon, Alex.
Afternoon, Ian.
So where does this proposal come from, and why do you think it will work?
Well, we've spent the past 2 years travelling around the country looking at some of the reasons why children from poor backgrounds, children from disadvantaged backgrounds, tend to do worse at school. And we've also been talking to some of the very inspirational head teachers and thinkers out there who are doing something to overturn that. And one of the ideas that we've come across is how you could send some of the most disadvantaged children to boarding schools in order to help them get that bit of stability that they're not getting at home. And that's really what's crucial, because if you're in a household where, I don't know, your mum is addicted to heroin, or your father is an alcoholic, then sometimes those families are so disrupted that actually being taken out of them for a short period gives your parents the chance to get a grip of their problems, and also means that you're getting full attention for your educational needs at the time when you need it most. It's often building up to exams, making sure that you get the basics right. So this is an idea which has got a lot of potential. We know that children who are in care at the moment, only about 15% of them get 5 good GCSEs when they're 16, and that compares to about 60% of all non-looked-after children. So they're a very long way behind at the moment, and they're in need of initiatives like this to help turn their lives around. Yeah,
it sounds a great idea. Let's talk about the economics of it. How are we going to pay for it?
Well, it's at the moment, if you're in care, if you're in foster care, which is the cheapest form of being in care, it costs you about £40,000 to be there. It costs the government about £40,000 to put you there, whereas it only costs about £10,000 to be in a state boarding school. So you can see that there is some money in the system already that would pay for it. But we're also thinking that there are a lot of philanthropic people and organisations in the country who might be prepared to come forward and sponsor individual children or groups of children. We saw that when the Academies programme was set up in this country a few years back, a large number of trusts and foundations came forward and put their money into education, often in poor areas, to help the kids out there. So we think that the government could also appeal to those sorts of people again.
Right, OK. And where are you going to get the staff? Where are the teachers going to come from?
Well, the staff are in many cases already in place. You're looking at expanding existing schools that are doing well, and also looking at building on the Free Schools programme, where the government is allowing new schools to be set up in areas of the country where there's great need and demand for them. So the staff are already in the system.
And in terms of the actual schools themselves, I confess I didn't actually know that there were state boarding schools. How many state boarding schools are there, and who goes to them?
There are 36 at the moment. They offer about 5,000 places. And there are some disadvantaged children who go there already. There are also some children whose parents pay a small amount of money for the boarding facilities. And then there are also some foreign students there.
Do you think that this would actually appeal to people who think there is something intrinsically wrong with splitting up their kids from their parents, no matter how bad things are at home?
Yeah, there will be some people who object to it on those grounds, but we've spoken to pupils who come from difficult backgrounds who say that their lives have been turned around by the opportunities that they've been given. And, one pupil said that, being away from home has meant that I've got a better relationship with my family now, given them a chance to get on track, given me a chance to get on track. So
being away from home gives them a better relationship with their parents?
Absolutely. Their parents have had more space to tackle their own problems, and it's relieved some of the stress. So I think sometimes a bit of distance can put things in perspective. So I really think that we have an opportunity with this policy to give some of the children who've slipped through the net up until this point a chance to thrive and do well.
And very quickly, a timescale for all this? How long might this all take?
Well, there's no reason why you couldn't start it immediately, but obviously to build it up to the sort of levels we need would take it at least the course of the next Parliament, maybe beyond.
Thanks for coming on, Alex. Alex Burghardt, he's the Policy Director at the Centre of Social Justice. If you're wondering what the Centre of Social Justice is, it's a think tank, as they say. It was founded by Ian Duncan Smith, and it's there to try and help the government with some of their policies, particularly the educational policies.